Roll it. Welcome back to Two Marks and a Spark, Season 3. We're here. Even though there wasn't supposed to be a show this week, we were supposed to take this week off. We didn't.
Right.
Um, Russ, we got a lot to talk about today, buddy.
There's a lot going on in the world of pro wrestling.
It is arguably, at least to my memory, this is the best time to be a wrestling fan of my life. I don't know about yours. I am a bit younger than you, but, you know,
Well, it's a
only
good
a,
time. I'll put it that way.
being a wrestling fan is fun right now. And
And
for
it's
anybody
not,
that
and it's not because The Rock made wrestling cool again.
nobody certainly didn't hurt.
No, I didn't mind seeing him. I'm not a Rock fan, but I didn't hate on it.
He added to all this though,
And
significantly.
and he knew his role, if you will, and played it perfectly.
I take it the pun was definitely intended there.
Yeah.
So Russ, the first thing I want to talk about on the show, I want to just get your overall thoughts because you weren't here because you weren't feeling good. Are you feeling better? By the way, update the
Oh
people.
yeah. 100%. Well,
Okay, good.
90.
Well, is anybody ever 100% anymore? Anyway, I want to just get your overall thoughts on night two of Mania. Um, we're not going to go play by play again here, but
I thought it was excellent. It was the first night was pretty good. The second night blew me away. It was better than I expected. That main event had just the perfect ending to it. I felt
I
like
mean,
the
we
whole
titled
thing
that episode the greatest main event ever for a fucking reason because it literally probably was.
that was
Um,
that was so well done. And they managed to get it all done in less than 4 hours.
yeah,
That was nice too.
twice.
Yeah,
Because here's the thing: when you take out all the stuff they did at the beginning of night one, like the anthem and all that, that show wasn't much longer than night two,
that's right.
even with the filler. But if you just took the first like 5 minutes off, 10 minutes off for night one, anyway, yeah, night two was incredible. Some news that came out over the week. I'm not going to go through this in any specific order. I'm going to do this in the order that I kind of want to talk about it with you.
Yeah,
Um, it gets announced Saturday night, and we talked about it a little bit on the night one show, even though I think it got announced after we stopped recording. So maybe we didn't talk about it. AEW announced on Collision last week that they were going to air the all in footage,
yes,
and we will talk more about that later.
right. When I
All I'll
heard
say is when we get to Dynamite, I'm going to be mad the whole time.
yeah,
Um, Russ, what was your initial thoughts when you heard this? And
I
was
thought
it not, was it
my
Tony
initial
Schiavone's
thought was this
face?
sounds like Tony Khan is being juvenile and petty, and it's going to hurt the company. And
Yeah.
I also felt that if I worked for that company, I would be embarrassed by this.
Well, clearly some people were, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
And there were people who didn't want to show it at all. There were people backstage who were like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is a bad idea. Like,
Well, it reminds me a little bit of in the final days of WCW. They did a lot of things that seemed to be done in desperation to try to get some attention and get the numbers up, and just
and
trying things. Yeah, I don't think this is going to help them at all.
well, it's funny. A year ago, we were talking about AEW was still good enough to, you know, be up there and it competitive and, they'd lost some momentum, but we were thinking, okay, when Punk comes back, they're gonna write this thing.
Right.
What a difference 365 days makes. I mean,
Oh wow.
what a
Yeah.
wow.
The way they've dealt with Punk leaving has it's
Blown my mind.
yeah. it just blows my mind. They seem to be appealing more to their niche audience than the broader audience. It's like
And
AEW is not going to break out of that cult status with the kind of programming they're doing now.
I mean, ECW was never going to break out of cult status. Just look at the type of matches they had. But
Hmm.
they knew what they were. AEW is very clearly trying to be mainstream, and they're not. They're very clearly trying to be numero uno, and they're very clearly number two.
Right. Well, in the week leading up to WrestleMania, a week ago Wednesday, you know, uh, Adam Copeland cut that promo at the beginning of
Oh,
Dynamite,
Jesus fucking Christ.
which
Don't
was
get me started on that goddamn
that was
promo.
cringy. That was cringy. That was
And
so
that wasn't
obvious.
his idea. It wasn't
No,
his idea either, obviously.
no, I that was just a reaction to that interview that Punk did.
Literally the day before. Anyway, which most people didn't even fucking watch, by the way. Like,
Right.
at all. Most people are just done with it. It's.
Yeah, it's
I
old news.
watched.
I don't care.
Okay, we're going to talk about that Punk thing later. The big thing I wanted to talk to you about, Vince McMahon has sold the remainder of his stock in TKO. He is gone. He is done and dusted. What I want to talk to you about, though, is the rumor and innuendo around that. That being, what is he doing? What the fuck is he doing?
Well, maybe he's just going to retire and be silent and go away and live the rest of his life in solitude.
Brother, have you been watching WWE for the last 40 years?
Yes, I have. I said maybe that'll happen, not that it was likely.
Okay, look, I don't know what Vince is doing any more than I think Vince knows what he's doing.
Right.
Um,
I mean,
he
Vince,
just made about $2 billion on selling all his stock combined.
that's incredible. He could
Not
donate all of that money to charity and just live on a basic living stipend the rest of his life, and that would be fine with me. I don't think it's going to happen though.
no, it's not gonna happen. It's the most frustrating thing in the world to think about him trying to start a wrestling company. But
Well, if he wanted to start another wrestling company, I hope to God he would have somebody else run it and not try to book it himself.
that won't happen.
Yeah, because we already know the last couple of years of Raw when he was around shows that it just wasn't very damn good.
No, it wasn't good. And okay, here's the thing. My question is, who the hell is gonna go to that company?
Yeah, at this point of the game, with what we know with this investigation ongoing, who would want to work for Vince McMahon?
Okay,
Not
here,
me.
let me put it to you like this. If Vince McMahon came to you and offered you $5 million a year, you're saying no, right? You don't care about the money at that point. Your reputation's fucked.
I wouldn't do it. Not for him.
No,
I might take money from a person I didn't like, but that's going too far.
like that's a whole different thing. Like that's a legal thing. Like
I'd say, Vince, no, I will not work for you for $5 million. I would rather put a gun to your head and hold you up for $5 million.
like
I'd sleep better at night.
that's the that's the crazy part here is it's like he he actually probably does think he can pull this off,
I wonder.
but
I wonder where the rest. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
he's not going to be able to do this. Like there's
No,
no way.
I just don't see it
Like
happening. No,
he's going to try, I think. But
I think he should just leave his money to his kids and grandkids and let it go at that.
well, yeah, we agree on one thing there. But I just he is so generationally wealthy, even subtracting this $2 billion.
Right.
Like, why why try to start like the furthest you're gonna get at this point, even subtracting his reputation, like let's just say his reputation isn't a problem here. The closest you're gonna get is TNA.
Yeah.
That's the thing you're gonna get closest to right now is TNA.
And I
And
just
at
don't know.
70,
I can't see that many professional wrestlers that would want to work for him at this point because of the association with his past crimes, you
well,
know?
even taking those out, right? Even if you subtracted those, who's gonna want to work for him right now? People wanted to working for him when he was still in charge of WWE less than 3 years ago. So, dude,
But
I don't know. Like,
I think that the fallout from this is still going to be happening for years to come, you know. There's probably more that we don't know.
well,
At this
yeah,
point, it seems like it's impossible to be shot. It couldn't be any worse.
it couldn't be really. I mean, WWE's fine,
Yeah.
right? Like, they're good. Like, WWE is at as good a spot as you can be right now.
Well, I feel like they're headed, you know, they call it the Paul Levesque era they're referred to on night two. Uh, I think it's not so much that we're headed more toward a repeat of the Attitude Era. I think it's more like a progression toward the the Netflix era.
Yeah. And we saw it with The Rock, right?
Yes,
With
very much
the
so.
way, with his language, with the way he was kind of carrying himself. I
That's
think
right.
you're going to see it a lot more when they go to Netflix. In fact, I almost guarantee you will. I think they're going to go to TV 14, not right away, maybe. It might be a slow
Right,
turn in that direction. But, dude, you've already seen it. Like, the cuffs are coming off,
right.
like, training wheels are coming off.
They can call it TV 14 just like they did in the Attitude Era, but the kids are still going to watch it. And I think most parents are still going to allow their children to watch it.
Oh, yeah. And
The
here's the
only
other
part
thing,
I
too.
could, you know, I remember taking when my son Cody was about 8 years old. I remember taking him to Raw in Ames, and that was back when Bischoff was with the company. And I had to try to explain to him. He said, "Dad, what are they talking about? They had HLA, hot lesbian action." And he's like, "Dad, what are they talking about?" So I told him, and he was like, "Boy, that's really weird." I said, "Yes, it is, son. It really is."
They're putting this on a fucking television program. Anyway,
Right.
let's talk about Raw, Russ. The Raw after WrestleMania Night 2. You knew this was going to be a hot crowd. You knew this was going to be a good show because statistically speaking, under Paul Levesque, you're more likely to get a good show than a bad one.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's one Raw I really look forward to. I don't usually watch Raw live, but I did Monday night just for the fun of it.
and it felt like the morning after Christmas with all your new toys
That's
as a
right.
kid.
New champion
You know,
Cody, looking good, isn't he? He always looks like a
and
professional too. He's always got on a suit and tie. You know, he's not a slob like me. He's a professional.
Russ, if you showed up to this show in a suit and tie, I would ask if you were okay. I'm not. I'm not kidding.
Well, it
I
would
would ask.
probably be like something, oh, well, I just come from a funeral or a wedding and I didn't have time to change.
Well, one would hope we never have to do a show immediately after a funeral or a wedding, because one thing's for sure, that would not be a very good after party. Anyway, uh, this show opens. Triple H comes out. They had the reduced set again on Monday. That will be funny later. Um, Triple H comes out and dude, the pop Triple H got on Raw.
Yeah.
I thought it was 1999 again. I was like, holy shit. This guy is more over than most people in AEW.
And it seems like they've abandoned the whole, you know, heel manager, heel boss scenario that they went on for, the family, the McMahon family being always be the enemy of the fans. He was a great heel for a while, but then that went on and on and on and on and on and on. And it feels like they've done away with that now, which is a good idea.
Unless they bring Stephanie back, in which case, let her be a heel.
I was surprised to see her Sunday night.
Which apparently, and I don't know how they managed to like have this happen like legally. She's not signed like at all.
She's died
Like,
under contract. Is that right?
apparently not.
Well, then it must have
Although,
just been a one-off deal.
even though I was told she was, and then I was told she wasn't. So I guess people were probably under the interpretation that she was. That's my guess, is that a bunch of people in the company assumed, and perhaps they were in their right to do so, that because she was on WrestleMania night 2, that
Right.
she was back.
Yeah, I
Which,
figured that's too, but true. But maybe it's just like he wanted to have his wife with him on the show that night.
I mean, she was at night 1. Like she was there.
Hmm.
She's she's been at a lot of TV. Not so much like weekly, but like she's been at the pay-per-views for the most part. The ones in the US anyway.
You never ever
Um,
see Linda McMahon affiliated with the WWE publicly or anything anymore, or
you
with
won't either. You won't either. So Levesque comes out and
yeah,
he thanks Philadelphia for making the last 2 nights the greatest WrestleMania of all time. And I don't know if it was that, but it was certainly right fucking up there.
it was one of the very best. It would definitely be in the top 10, wouldn't it?
I think it's top 5
Yeah, I
easily.
would say so too.
I think it's easily top 5. I think it's right up there with like WrestleMania 30 and 31 because remember those 2 years were equally fantastic. And
They were WrestleMania 18, 20 were very, very good. WrestleMania 10
17
was an early favorite of mine. Hell, have you ever watched the very first WrestleMania? For the time
I
it's
think
in, it's a fun show for what it is.
well Triple H is out there and they're chanting thank you Hunter and or thank you Paul. I couldn't quite interpret exactly what they were saying.
Right. Paul Levesque. Right. And then Cody.
And he introduces the new undisputed WWE champion. It appears we are dropping the Universal title.
Right.
Good riddance.
That's fine with me. Another
Goodbye.
example of this, the subtle little changes with Triple H being in charge. There's just little things that they don't even acknowledge, but you notice them if you're a fan.
But he's not insulting the fans by like waving it everywhere. He's like,
No.
let's just subtly change the way we say this. They're hard shifting away from sports entertainment. Like they are hard moving away.
It feels that way. They still use
No,
that
they are.
term all the time. Sports
No,
entertainment.
dude, like I've heard from people like you're like sports entertainment is persona non grata, or it might as well be because they're telling commentators not to say it anymore. They're telling wrestlers not to say it anymore.
Good.
They're telling, and for most of these wrestlers, they don't care. They're just kind of like, okay, so I don't have to say that stupid shit anymore.
Right.
Cool. I never wanted to say it anyway.
Yes.
Like Kevin Owens is probably throwing a fucking party backstage for it. Like
I never liked the phrase either.
it was stupid, and it always has been. Anyway,
It's kind of like everybody knows that wrestling is fixed. Why do you have to brag about it?
right? Uh, and he Cody comes out and gets a massive pop.
Huge pop.
It did
Well,
bother me that it does bother me that he doesn't wear the title during his entrance. Like, just wear the belt. I mean, he did it in AEW when he had the TNT title. Why are you just
I,
carrying this thing around? Like,
well, could be worse. At least he's not dragging it along the ground like Diesel used to do.
oh,
Big Daddy
believe me.
Cool.
Oh, believe me. You wait. We're gonna be we're gonna be doing a new segment here in the next
Okay.
couple weeks that I wanted to run by you, and let's just say Diesel may be involved.
Oh, cool.
Not direct, not directly, but you may have to soon talk about Diesel again.
That's cool. He really
So
is that tall. I seen him in Des Moines, and boy, he's a big son of a gun. I'll tell you that.
he is the biggest son of a bitch you'll ever see. Anyway, so the fans start chanting "You deserve it" for Cody, and
Yeah. And I think that's good.
I hate the "You deserve it" chant, but
Yeah.
this time
It wasn't
I was
so
okay with
bad.
it.
Sometimes it doesn't feel appropriate. Here is one of the times when it felt like it was okay.
And Cody starts cutting a promo. He does his "So what do you want to talk about?" Which I've always there are people that don't like it when Cody does that, but I'm like, dude, it's the biggest white meat babyface thing ever, and I'm fine with it.
It's called a catchphrase.
It's a catchphrase. He's a white meat babyface. He's the top guy. He's gonna do whatever he wants anyway.
I
This guy's
hope he
making
has
more money.
I hope that he has a long title reign.
He
And I
won't.
hope that he defends that title. You know how many title defenses Roman Reigns actually had in 4 years? He averaged about four a year.
He had 31 total. We did the
30,
math on the show.
and
We did a
and
trivia segment on the show last week
okay,
that you weren't here for.
all right,
Uh,
yeah,
and yeah, it was 31. And me and Bryce managed to name all of them because that's how few there were. Uh, and it was interesting that there were so few. Yeah, he didn't do very many title defenses. Now, worth noting, they did announce, I don't know where, but they announced that Cody will defend the title at Backlash in France.
yes, but
Which,
we don't
by
know
the way,
yet.
they are not making a big deal out of this France thing. Have you noticed that? Like, they're not
Not
making a
really,
big deal out of this at all.
not the way they did Australia and Puerto Rico and other places.
Now, will they make a big deal out of it? Like, probably starting Monday on Raw? Yeah.
I hope so. Yeah,
And they should make a big deal out of it, by the way.
that's right.
And everybody's bitching. Okay, I'm going to go on a side tangent here. Everybody's bitching about these international PLEs. It's like, dude, it's fine. Like, it's a good sign that they're doing these, actually. That's a
Right.
sign that the business is healthy.
Yes, it is.
The more international shit they do, honestly, the better for everybody.
Yep, absolutely.
And Cody's out there, and he wanted to acknowledge Roman for his 1,316-day reign. The fans chant, "Thank you, Roman." And Cody says that Roman's the most important superstar of this generation, which he's certainly up there if he's not.
Yes.
And Cody looks like he's going to end the promo, and then The Rock's music hit, which shocked me shitless because I
Right.
thought he went home already.
Yeah.
And
Like he
the fans
sucks.
are chant the fans are chanting curse words at him. They are chanting Undertaker at him. This promo, Okay, between the video package Hunter did, they showed for with when Hunter came out with Cody. Hunter leaves, Cody cuts his promo, and then The Rock comes out.
right? And he spoke to Philadelphia. And he said he wanted to thank them for the largest gathering in history of trailer park trash.
And they popped for that.
That's right.
I know you're not a big fan of The Rock, but you got to admit this
You
version
know
of him
what?
is pretty.
I have enjoyed this more than I thought I would. I really have.
This version of The
I
Rock
like him
is
a
so
little bit
good.
better than I did a few weeks ago.
This version of The Rock is so goddamn good. The crowd starts after they do the trailer park trash thing. The crowd cheers for a second, and then they start booing him and start chanting "Shut the fuck up,"
Yeah,
which is probably exactly what Russ was thinking. Shut the fuck up.
right. Yep. And then they have to try, since they're on USA, they have to try to censor out a live chant. Not a good idea. Never going to work.
Um, then they do this awkward thing where Rock's like, "I've held every belt in this company
Yes.
except for that one," and he points right at Cody's belt.
Wasn't that strange?
And they do this awkward handoff, and then they give each other their own belts back, and it was the most awkward thing I've ever seen. And the crowd starts chanting, "This is awkward." This part was weird. And then after that, Rock hands Cody something, puts it in his hand, and they shake hands, and he says, "Don't break the final boss's heart again." And he leaves because
There's
earlier in
something
the
in his
promo,
hand.
he
He told him not to look at it.
the big takeaway here is Rock told Cody, "When I come back, and I will come back, I'm coming for you."
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't want to see the Rock champion at this point. I don't want to see anybody champion who's not a full-time wrestler. Period.
Um, I do think that Cena's going to win the belt in the next year or two. I think he has to. They got to break Flair's record.
Oh, forget about Flair. Flair's yesterday's news. I'm so over Ric Flair, it's pathetic.
But that should make you want Cena to break his record because
Right,
then we will
exactly.
legitimately never talk about him again.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, unless he's on AEW television, which God forbid that happens again.
Fortunately, that's very infrequent.
Now it is because Sting ain't there,
Right.
which is a loss unto itself that Sting's not on TV anymore. Uh,
I can't believe though that he retired the same age as me and he was still out there taking hellacious bumps.
and
Man,
not
I tell you what,
making.
I take 5 minutes to get out of bed in the morning because of all my aches and pains, and I've never wrestled a single match.
Then
Can't
we got the
imagine.
first. Then we got like the first kind of surprise of the night, which was Ilya Dragunov coming out
I
to
was
wrestle Shinsuke.
surprised.
And Dragunov comes out, and this place goes fucking ballistic
Right. And he beat Shinsuke Nakamura.
in a fantastic match. But they did announce during this match, April 26th and 29th, they will be doing the WWE draft. Um, I have not been this excited for a draft in a long time.
Well, I'm
But
glad
you
that
know,
they're ready to bring him up to the main
and he's
roster.
declared for the draft. He's declared for the draft. So he's going to get called up. I do like this idea that these NXT guys are kind of given the storyline option to declare for the draft. Like making it a storyline is interesting.
Right.
And I do like that. And I would assume somebody we're going to talk about later is probably also going to get
Dragunov
drafted.
is German, is he not? Believe?
I think he's Russian, isn't he?
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. He had a German suplex. That's different.
He's Russian and German, and he's from
Okay.
Moscow.
All right. It means he's half Nazi and half commie.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm gonna move on from that line because if I elaborate on that too much, we're gonna get in trouble. Anyway, um, what do you think of the idea of the draft? I know we kind of shit on it last year and then they stuck to it for the most part. So it's like, I mean, we shit on it last year, and the only time they really break the draft thing is like
Right.
during WrestleMania now.
Well, they stuck to the draft in the last since the last one much more than they ever had before. It was kind of
But
like
you
they really meant it this time.
but you kind of understand why they broke it during WrestleMania season
Oh, sure,
because
you have to because
at that point,
you want everybody in the company as much as possible involved, all of the fans. You want to get your NXT fans in there too, you know?
right? So it's like that's why they do stand and deliver and stuff like that. But anyway, we had a bunch of recap packages, and we get
Yeah.
this really cool shot of the outside of the Wells Fargo Center in Philly, and then the Judgment Day comes out.
You ever been to that venue?
No, I've never been to Philadelphia.
I've been to Philadelphia, but afraid I didn't have any time to do that.
Anyway, so Finn, JD, and Dom are in the ring, and they bring out Ripley and they bring out Damian Priest,
New
and
champion,
these got
Damien.
and Priest starts cutting a promo, and it starts going in a good direction, and then here come Miz and Truth,
Right.
and it was at that moment I was like, huh? Because here's the thing, I'd read about this segment before it happened on
Okay.
Fightful that Cena was there and was going to wrestle. I didn't think they were actually going to do it.
So when so when Truth says me and the Miz and our third partner, who is a person you can't see, first thing I thought of is you can't see me, John Cena. I figured, yep, John Cena.
Well, this starts as a handicap match, this whole
Yes.
shenanigan. And they went to break and it comes back and the match has already started and it's a handicap match. So it's Truth and Miz against Balor, McDonough, and Mysterio.
Right.
And I'm thinking, did John get food poisoning? Why didn't they just send him out here?
I don't know. They waited.
Maybe. And they waited and Judgment Day got heat and they got
Right.
more heat and they got so much damn heat, the building caught on fire. And finally, Cena's music hits, and here comes John, and
Big pop. Massive
and he
pop.
and he reaches his hand out for a tag. He gets a tag. They do a three-man. All three men do the five moves of doom: Miz, Truth, and Cena.
Like the
One,
five
two,
minute
three.
shuffle.
All three did attitude adjustments. One, two, three in the middle of the ring to all three members of Judgment Day, so they're effectively buried. And
Well,
that
for them.
was that.
Right.
And backstage, Rhea Ripley and Dominic are walking and they're talking about something. Ripley tells Dominic, look, dude, what the hell happened with this Andrade thing?
Right.
Fix it. And then after Dominic leaves, Rhea gets mugged. And I don't know how else to word it. Rhea just gets mugged by Liv Morgan.
Oh
So
God. I
Rhea's
thought
standing
Liv
there.
Morgan's acting like a total heel now.
So no, here's what happened. I want to break this down play by play here because it's very short. Rhea's standing there. It looks like they're about to cut away, and then all of a sudden, out of the corner of the fucking camera, Here comes a fucking flying steel chair.
Yeah.
She fucking hawks this thing,
I thought, damn, Liv Morgan, I didn't know you had it in you.
and it nails Rhea in the fucking head.
That looked
I
painful.
mean, it couldn't have hit her more square in the face.
I thought,
And,
how could you get through that without a concussion at least?
and I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
And Liv just starts beating the brakes off of Rhea Ripley. Rhea just got the shit kicked out of her here.
Yeah, I think we are looking at our next feud here for that belt.
I think they're gonna play it off for a long time though.
Yeah, that could be.
A-
You think along
And
the next pay-per-view, you think?
it won't get blown off at the next pay-per-view. This is gonna go for a while. And
Yeah.
then we go to the ring and they start acting like nothing ever happened because Indy Hartwell's just in the ring, like, I don't know anything. And
Right.
the Tron's not there, so you can't.
Right. You don't know who's coming.
And Indy's in the ring and they don't know who she's gonna face, but here comes NXT women's champion Roxanne Perez,
Right.
who I am a massive fan of, and she walks out there and they have a pretty decent little match for about 7 minutes. And
Yes.
Roxy wins with the Pop Rocks, and
Pop rocks. There you go.
it looks like Roxanne Perez will probably be headed to the main roster fairly shortly as well. So
Yes. Yeah, and I think she's very good also. Oh, yeah, and
that
don't forget then. Oh, go ahead.
so Roxanne's back. So we had a whole bunch of stuff. We had the recap for the IC title thing. We
Yes.
had the Roxanne Natalia thing that got blown off on NXT. I don't know what happened. I didn't watch
I did
NXT.
not watch NXT. No. I'm
I
assuming
have better
that probably
things to
Roxanne
do.
won.
I would hope. Um Sami Zayn comes out and he gets cut off by Imperium. This ends in a tag match. And Zayn and Gable go over. No
Yes.
Gable, no Gunther on this show. But it is
Correct.
also announced later on in another segment that I've lost track of in my notes here that it will be Gable versus Zayn next week for the IC title in Montreal.
Oh, cool.
It did get announced on SmackDown. They teased it on this show that Sheamus is coming back. He
Yes,
will
they
be
did.
on Raw Monday. He's
Yeah.
been gone forever. I mean, a long time.
Yep.
And dude, I've missed Sheamus on my television.
Me too. Yeah. I've always been a big fan of his. I
I
first
thought he
saw,
won.
first time I saw him was at a house show in Des Moines, and he was when they first came in, he was using his name Seamus O'Shaughnessy, and they shortened it to Seamus. And
He is
he
so
just in
damn good.
about 2 minutes just beat the piss out of Jamie Noble.
I mean,
Anyway, all right. Then we get
we
to
had a bunch of backstage stalling,
correct.
17 consecutive sellouts. It would become 18 on Friday. And then Chelsea's in the ring, and out comes Jade Cargill. And Jade Cargill just did not want to hear it from Chelsea.
Nope, afraid not.
And Jade wins. No surprise there.
When's the last time Chelsea Green won a match? It's been a long time.
I mean, she wins all the time on like main event and whatever, though.
Okay. Yep.
Then we got our number one contenders fatal four-way match that was our main event. And this was announced as an elimination match. It was not an elimination match.
Well, I wondered about that. It didn't seem like it was.
But here's the thing. I think it was probably planned as an elimination match, and they probably just ran out of time because that Rock Cody segment went so goddamn long.
Could be, yeah. Well, we had Bronson Reed, Drew McIntyre, Jey Uso, and Ricochet.
And
It was okay for a main event. It wasn't too bad.
this was a very good four way, as four ways go. And this thing ends with Drew McIntyre looking like he's about to win, but who else shows up but CM Punk?
Right? Interferes in the match.
Interferes, costs Drew the match, and Jey Uso is the number one contender for the World Heavyweight title.
Right.
And we'll talk about the undisputed title, the WWE title, here in a minute. But first, we got to talk about Dynamite.
Dynamite. It felt like a bunch of amateurs doing an experimental wrestling program, just to see if they could wing it. Yeah, I tell you, this whole the way you want to talk about the main thing about the footage.
Let's go in order.
Okay, let's go in order. Yeah, okay.
So this show starts, and immediately I'm like, I don't want to watch this show tonight
Right.
because I knew what it was going to be. I was like, this is going to be a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
And it was. It was a disaster. And you want to know the funny part? It could have been avoided.
Oh yeah. It could have been. All they had to do is just,
Not do
get
this.
over this thing with Punk. Just ignore it. Don't even talk about it. Here, when the crowd starts chanting CM Punk in the AEW crowd, that's not a good sign.
Well, this show actually started with something positive for us to talk about, which is Penta challenging for the TNT title against Adam Copeland. This was great.
Yes, it was.
Copeland gets the win. This was great. And unfortunately, during this match, we got a countdown timer for the Young Bucks. And I'm thinking, oh my God, they're going to fucking do this.
Yep, I know. It's crazy.
So after this, we got an interview with Jericho backstage. Jericho and Hook and Shibata. Dude,
Yes.
when I tell you this is the only somewhat decent thing on this show for the next 20 fucking minutes, I mean it.
Yeah. I hear you, man.
All right, Russ. Unfortunately, it is time for us to talk about that segment.
Sure. They're trying to put a storyline to kind of like frame this thing up to make it not look like what it blatantly is, which is just sour grapes and pissed off at CM Punk and want to try to embarrass him. Here's the thing. I looked at the footage and I don't know what I was supposed to get out of that. What was the takeaway from that? It looked like just exactly what Punk had described.
It looked exactly like all the reports said it was.
Yeah,
It was short, it was over quick. It's a 1 minute long thing that they showed, and 90% of it is just them standing there having a conversation.
right,
Punk shoves him twice, throws him in a front face lock or a chokehold or whatever that was, and immediately it's broken up.
Samoa Joe went right over there to try to break it up. He was actually very professional about it, I thought.
Look, I'm not going to talk too much about the footage because it doesn't. Honestly, dude, it doesn't fucking matter.
Right.
I have seen worse fights in fucking high school football games on
Sure.
the sidelines
Right. Yeah.
between teammates.
And it
Like
just,
fucking A.
for them, they're claiming, well, we lost the titles to FTR. We lost the match to FTR because our focus was off. And now I hope that they proceed with this feud and never mention that footage or CM Punk again. But we'll see. I don't know. The Young Bucks, I don't understand the way they're thinking, how they think this is going to benefit them in any way.
Okay, so this is the thing. The Bucks didn't want to do this.
Okay, I was not aware of that.
The Bucks thought this was a bad idea.
So this is all Tony Khan.
Yeah. Everybody backstage thought this was a bad idea.
Well, it
They
was.
show
It
this
was a
footage.
horrible idea.
They show this footage that is essentially tankered this show, by the way.
Yes.
Like, there's a lot of good stuff on this show that was just ruined.
Yeah. And it'll go down probably as the worst episode so far of Dynamite.
For 20 minutes, it was. Which is crazy because again, it started with this great fucking match
Yeah.
that was fantastic. Copeland and Penta went out there and damn near killed each other
Oh, it was very good.
on this goddamn show, of all fucking things, in front of about 3,000 people, if that.
Yes. It was great.
I can't fucking believe they did this.
Well, they did. And I guess
And
we're gonna
immediately after this segment is over, they show commentary, and Tony Schiavone is looking at like he wants to quit his fucking job.
he looked like he
Schiavone has
wanted to fall
quiet
asleep,
quit.
take a nap. Yeah.
No, he looked embarrassed. He looked mortified. He looked mortified. He couldn't
Yeah.
believe it. He's sitting there, and I'm going to try to redo his entire face. First of all, he's red. He looks embarrassed. And he's just sitting there like,
Yeah. Yeah.
he couldn't believe it. Like, oh my God. Dude, this is a worked shoot, and I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
Or
Hey,
shoot work. I don't know.
there was a time, and I think this brought it to people's memory. There was a time in the latter days of WCW where there was a couple of times when Tony Schiavone was observed. He just put his head down on the desk right there in front of the fans and everybody. And he says, I should have done it. He said, but I was just so fed up and so sick and tired and so embarrassed by WCW. He said, I couldn't believe the crap we were putting on TV.
Yeah, that same look again.
Yeah, that's the first thing I thought of.
I
I,
messaged
I came
Devlin.
away from that whole 20-minute segment feeling like this
No,
reminds
there's
me
more.
most
We're
of
not
all.
done talking about this fucking shit yet. There's more to this. That's the crazy fucking part here. There's more to this bullshit. Dude, I couldn't fucking believe this. And then FTR has to come out here.
Like,
God bless FTR.
doing their
Dude,
best.
oh, they probably hate this just as much as we do. So, fucking Cash and Dax, these poor saps,
I know.
they come out here and they're like, can we move on?
Hmm.
You showed your footage. No one gives a shit.
Right.
And like,
Absolutely. Well, I don't think that Tony Khan's going to get such. You've got so many people in the locker room unhappy with where the company's going. They need to change
dude,
course.
dude, just wait. I'm gonna talk about something here in a minute that's really gonna make me mad. Okay, so So we get a video package for Danielson and Osprey. Renee Paquette is there with Osprey, and Osprey starts cutting a promo, and then he mentions WWE again.
Yes. You mentioned Triple H specifically.
Oh, dude, come on.
Yeah.
The
Just
biggest baby face in their company right now.
right.
And they're doing this shit.
Doesn't make any sense, does it?
And he spends 3 minutes talking about it and then talks about Danielson for 2 minutes. And then finally, we get back to why anybody watches this show, which is the wrestling.
Right.
Too bad this match sucked. Jericho and Hook against and Shibata against Shane Taylor, Lee Moriarty, and Anthony Ogogo, none of which have been on TV for 6 months.
Right.
And they win here because of a clusterfuck. I don't
Yeah.
want to talk about this match very much. I'm moving on.
Yeah. It wasn't that great. I'm not overly impressed with anything Jericho does these days. And I don't see being affiliated with Jericho as being helpful to a young wrestler's career at this point. That's just the way it looks to me.
Then we got an Okada squash match against some guy I've never heard of.
Right. Must have been a
And
regional or local wrestler, maybe.
I don't know. After this, FTR come out. This ends in a giant brawl. Who cares?
Been done a million times. Dun, dun,
Anyway,
dun.
we get a much better Tony Storm segment.
Tony,
And she does this toast to Thunder Rosa, and Tony is just great.
yes.
And this whole thing was fantastic. Go back and watch it. I'm not going to play by play it. I don't want to talk about this fucking Dynamite show anymore. We had
That's something.
Mariah May versus Anna Jay. The big story here was, of course, Mina Shirakawa's appearingly to be working with AEW right now.
Right.
That is Mariah May's mentor, and Mariah May beats Anna Jay very quickly.
Yeah. It's been a while
But this
since
was
that
a good
won
match.
anything.
It wasn't that long ago that Anna Jay looked like she was going to be a big, big star. And she is
Yeah.
young enough to the point where she still might be. But man, have they botched her. Holy shit.
Yeah. Kind of like after they broke up that Jericho Appreciation Society, she was one of the ones well, we don't really know quite what to do with you now. Kind of lost in the shuffle. But a very good wrestler, better than you would guess from her current work.
From her TV time.
Yeah.
Then we get that jabroni Alex Marvez backstage.
That's a good word for him, jabroni.
And he's back there and he's talking to Mercedes, and they're just talking about Double or Nothing, which is over a month away. I don't even know why they're talking about it.
Correct.
And then we got Samoa Joe versus Dustin Rhodes for the world title in a world title eliminator. This was great.
It was. It was good.
Um, this ended a bad show on a good note. Dynamite gets an F. The show gets an F, as in fuck you, Tony Khan.
Sad but true. Yeah, I agree. Well, let's
Russ, let's
hope
talk about something more positive.
Yeah, you want to talk about something else? Let's do. What do you want to talk about?
As Cody would say, what do you want to talk about? Let's talk about SmackDown.
Yeah, SmackDown was interesting this week.
I thought this was a fun show. Not a whole lot happened, to be honest with you. Cody comes out, and worth noting, the Twins and Tigers were playing just up the road. Dude,
Yes.
the crowd at this SmackDown was bigger than the crowd at Comerica Park. I was watching both at the same time.
Well, that's right. They were playing Saturday afternoon too. I listened to them on the radio on my way down to Missouri, and
Moser. Yeah, well, Cody comes out. He cuts a fairly good promo, pretty much the same promo he cut on Monday. And he runs down who's going to be in the number one contender triple threat eliminators, which is basically what they are. They're not calling them eliminators, but they are.
right.
And they show Bailey and Rey Mysterio walking in. They show the Bloodline coming in. We'll talk about the Bloodline in a minute because something very interesting happens with them later on in the show. But what happens here is they show what used to be the Bloodline locker room that is now Cody Rhodes' locker room.
Yeah.
And Uso and Sikoa are pissed.
Right.
But Paul Heyman's like, guys, it'll be fine. We just need to get the title back.
It's all going to be fine.
Then we get a triple threat Escobar, Lashley, and LA Knight as part of
Right.
this mini tournament they're doing.
And you know, my thought going into this is I love this match as long as LA Knight doesn't win. But he's over with the crowd and he's getting a push. And
He's
obviously
best for business.
he's making the money. But to me, when you look at Bobby Lashley and you look at LA Knight, and I'm thinking, one of these things is not like the other.
Well, thankfully he pinned Escobar and not Lashley.
Yeah, correct. Like I said, I guess as a triple, as a three-way match, it was all right, you know.
We get the Bloodline fallout. This segment was fucking awesome.
This was very interesting.
So Heyman's out there,
Heyman doesn't know what
and
the hell how to react, does he?
Heyman doesn't know what the hell to do with himself.
Right.
Heyman is despondent. He says the Bloodline offers no excuses for what happened at WrestleMania and that there's consequences. And Heyman doesn't get very far into this promo before he starts to say something. And Solo Sikoa, who came across like the biggest monster alive in this segment, grabs the mic and he says, winning and losing matters, right? And Heyman, in a very scary, in a very terrified voice, goes, yeah. And there needs to be consequences. And then Solo looks right at Jimmy. And there's a stare down for a minute. And
Right.
Heyman is screaming, Solo, no.
Right. Then the hug. Then the
You're my
whispers, I
brother.
love you.
And then the fucking typhoon hits because here comes a guy in a black hood. And it's fucking Tama Tonga.
Tama Tonga.
And this place can't fucking believe it. Even though he's been signed for months.
Yeah, I've heard he's been signed for months, but I don't ever remember seeing him before now.
He debuts and he beats the hell out of Jimmy Uso.
And how does he fit into the
And
Samoan family tree?
I
I don't know. It's
And
awesome though. That was quite an interesting turn. And Paul Heyman is just scared shitless, doesn't know what to think. Gets out his phone to call the tribal chief.
Solo steps on it.
He busted his phone. Yes.
And my God, this was great.
Jimmy Uso got a beat down. Yeah, Solo and
And
Tom are running the show.
Paul Heyman is despondent.
Yeah.
And I assume when Roman comes back, there will be war.
Oh yeah. Very well could be. Very well could be.
And Braun Breaker versus Cameron Grimes. This was
Good
great.
match. I liked it. What did you
This was
think of
short
it?
and sweet.
It was very short. It seems
And
like most of Braun Breaker's matches are fairly short.
not all of them. Not the ones he
Okay.
had in NXT, but
Well,
main
I haven't
roster, yeah.
seen it. I haven't seen enough of those then.
Bailey's out that Bailey comes out and she gets a massive pop.
Yeah. Yep. I'm glad to see her champion again.
And she gets almost immediately interrupted by Tiffany Stratton,
Correct.
who gets cut off by Naomi. This leads to a match.
Right. Naomi versus Tiffany.
They have a very good match
Tiffany is
with it,
very unlike. She's a very good wrestler. She's a very unlikable persona. You know what I mean?
but she's so over. I
I
mean, she is over with this crowd, and she gets beat here, but and they say
Well,
Naomi's going to get a
I
future.
guess if you like blondes with big boobs and real pretty and all that, then go for it. I think they're a little overrated, but she is a very good wrestler. Not a huge fan of the gimmick, but she is a great wrestler, and I wouldn't recommend they change anything because obviously she's getting pushed because they're making money with her. I actually heard from a person who's a completely casual wrestling fan, doesn't know basically anything about wrestling, but who watched some shows recently and said, that Tiffany Stratton, she's my favorite. She's the best one. And I said, well, why do you think so? Well, she's pretty.
And then we had Jade Cargill and Bianca against Niven and Chelsea. Poor Chelsea
Right.
can't win to save her life.
No, I'm starting to feel sorry for poor Chelsea Green.
Um,
She
we
used to win
go
a
to the
lot
main
in
of.
NXT, didn't she?
She was never really in NXT.
Okay.
Not
Oh,
this
I'm
run
thinking,
anyway.
I'm thinking of TNA, ain't I?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Yep.
But what's the difference? You could honestly ask the question. Um,
Yep.
we go to the main event finally,
Right.
and it is
Another three-way.
Mysterio, Kevin Owens, Rey Mysterio, Kevin Owens, and AJ Styles. Man, this felt like a bit of a throwback three-way, didn't it?
It sure was.
And it was very good.
Did not expect it to end the way it did.
AJ gets the win, so we're gonna get a WrestleMania rematch.
Right. Which I think would be
What
fun.
I which I assume will have a stip of some kind. If it doesn't, that's lame.
Right. They should. But I'm never stopped being a fan of AJ Styles. I think he's really good. I think he makes this equally good heel or baby face either way. I think he can work both very, very well. LA Knight's
Russ, what
lucky to get to work with him. It's elevating LA Knight even more, I think.
I agree. Russ, what did you think of SmackDown overall? Good show.
I thought it was pretty good. It was above average. Both Raw and SmackDown were good this week. not perfect, but much better than recent years. I feel pretty good coming out of WrestleMania that both shows are shaping up pretty good.
And the draft will obviously freshen things up as it always does.
That's coming up in a few weeks.
Yep, 2 weeks roughly,
That'll be after oh wait, not that that'll be before their next pay-per-view, won't it?
right before the next pay per view,
Right.
because I believe their next pay per view is May 4th.
Right. And I think our next one to cover would be a week from now, which we're recording this on Sunday, will be
Dynasty.
Dynasty. Thank you. Dynasty with our AEW friends.
I was supposed to be at that show. My trip got canceled, so I will be here. Uh, but that's okay because I kind of like, being home too. I'm disappointed that my trip got canceled, but I do like being home. I'm a
Right.
bit of a homebody.
I
Uh,
like to travel too, but I like sleeping in my own bed. That's for sure.
Out and out a pretty good week for wrestling, unless you're an AEW fan, in which case this week kind of felt like a punch in the gut.
Yeah. AEW fan, if you're a hardcore AEW fan, um, I don't know. They're
This one
trying,
hurt.
we're the best wrestle. Is that their new slogan? We're the
And
best
they're not
wrestle.
wrong. And they're not wrong,
Right.
by the way.
They do
They
have
do
some
have
of the best
like
wrestlers in the world.
they
That
do
doesn't
have
mean
like
they're being
five out of
used in
the
the best way.
they do have like 5 out of the 10 best wrestlers in the world right now. They aren't lying about that.
You're talking about uh
Well, they got Osprey, they got Okada, they got Danielson.
Danielson, yeah,
Moxley is still there, even though he just won the New Japan title.
right.
And like, yeah, they've got the talent. Their talent is not their problem, and it never has been.
No.
They've always had a good roster. It's always been the case. Question has been execution.
Yeah.
And lately they haven't been doing that very well. Russ, what's your excitement level for Dynasty on a scale from 1 to 10 right now?
About a five.
And what's your excitement level for Backlash next month on a scale of about 1 to 10?
Oh, about an eight or nine. Because traditionally, Backlash has quite often been a very, very good show. I think
Very
it's
quietly.
overlooked as one of the better pay-per-views of the year. And matter of fact, last year, the Backlash last year was my favorite show of the year. Uh, so far this year, it's going to be hard for anything to beat the second night of WrestleMania, but we'll see.
Well, overall, a very good week of wrestling. I thought the best show this week was Raw. I really
Definitely,
did.
definitely, I agree 100%. I thought the biggest waste of time was Dynamite, and I agree with you that they had some good matches on there, and they had some good performances that unfortunately it just kind of left a stink all over the whole thing. That little angle with the footage of the fight, the alleged brawl.
And I didn't watch Collision, but I heard it was a waste of time, effectively.
Well, I
And
looked at some of it, but to tell you the truth, it was not memorable enough for me to even take notes on it. You know,
well, I stream on Saturdays now, so me watching Collision is just not like, I'll be honest, if I have to choose between streaming and watching Collision,
screaming.
I'm going to stream
Yep,
because it's a more effective use of my time, quite frankly.
correct. Absolutely.
And I enjoy it more. So, all right, everybody, we're going to get out of here.
Yeah,
But, Russ, you will see us again next week
right.
for Dynasty.
Dynasty,
And,
starring Linda Evans, John Forsythe,
yes,
and Joan Collins.
we'll get a run in from those three probably. on
Oh,
that show.
yeah. Want to run in a wheelchair?
Yeah, we'll get a roll in. All right, there you go.
A roll in. There you go.
That was a bad joke. That was offensive, probably to somebody. Uh,
Oh, not to me. Of course, I'm kind of hard to offend, so
well, there is that. All right, folks, we're gonna get out of here. Season 3 has officially started. Continues on next week
thank
with
you.
Dynasty. I was gonna say Collision. I don't know why. Dynasty next week,
Right.
and then we've got some new stuff coming for season 3 as well.
Yes.
All I'll say is retro. There you go. All right.
All right.
We're gonna get out of here. Everybody have a great rest of your week. Damon, play our music. Everybody have a good week. Bye bye.